Good afternoon, gentlemen. My name is Aaron Duell. I'm the pastor at Cheney United Methodist Church, and I am also your character coach. Some of you guys might remember me from last year. I just moved into town last year, and I did kind of a similar shtick then with you all, and here I am again. Underclassmen, you might not know me, and so I'm glad to be with you all. The reason why I'm not here in person tonight is because my family and I are in quarantine. We're waiting for COVID test results. Some of us have been having symptoms, and so I certainly don't want to jeopardize your guys' chance to play the game by spreading the virus. That's the last thing that I want to see happen. But tonight I want to talk about a certain characteristic, and that's the characteristic of courage. So, courage. What's the nature of courage? We often think that courage is an absence of fear, okay? Now, I've heard it said by none other than the Duke. You guys know who the Duke is? John Wayne. Yeah, John Wayne. John Wayne has said that courage is being scared to death, but saddling up anyway. I'll repeat that. That's worth writing down. Courage is being scared to death and saddling up anyway. So there's a lot of fear going around, and there has been, and there always will be, but right now it's about a pandemic, isn't it? And I remember when this first came out in March is when it really sank in to me, the threat that this virus poses. When they canceled March Madness, I just remember feeling this sense of dread just kind of sneak in. It felt like there was something out there kind of in the universe, in the ether, and it was waiting to devour us all, and devour me in particular. And that made me afraid. It really did. Nonetheless, we all have our lives to live, and here we are. It's September now. We learned a few things about the virus, and we also have a lot yet to learn. But the truth is that the season, the school year, has all been greatly affected. And so it makes me appreciate your guys' team motto. Let's see if I can get this right, because I haven't practiced it with you all out, all game, all season. So every game for the whole season, you are going all out. That's good. That's really good. Now, if you let fear inhibit you, you won't be able to go all out. I want to talk to you for a moment about a character I've been reading in a book named Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain. This is a historical biography that I'm reading, and he was a lieutenant colonel in the 20th Maine Infantry in the Union Army in the 1860s during the Civil War. And he was a picture of courage. And there are a lot of occasions where courage was called for, especially in warfare. And I've never served in the military myself, so reading about the things that these soldiers had to go through, it sounds almost like a war zone upstairs because my family is upstairs tromping around, so you might not hear that as well as I do at the moment. I'm a little bit afraid they're going to come through the ceiling. All the same, so Colonel Chamberlain was in command of men, and he had never had any formal Army career training. He was a college professor and really had no business in the Army, and yet he enlisted and he rose to the occasion. But there were times when fear could have ruled him, but he proceeded on with good courage anyway. One of those times was during a battle called Fredericksburg. For those of you that are students of history in the Civil War, you'll recognize that Fredericksburg was an enormous loss to the Union Army. It was a tragic loss, and the Union boys never should have been in the position they were in, and nonetheless, that's what happened. There was one occasion where the 20th Maine, Colonel Chamberlain's division, I don't know what his unit, was pinned down under fire. Actually, previous to this, they were green troops. They had never been in combat before. They had seen combat, the 20th Maine, but they had never been in combat before. And so they had an order, and that order was to march up to this fence and take it apart so that cavalry could pass through, and if they needed, they would have passage through this particular area of land. And so what happened was Colonel Chamberlain gives the order. Everyone just kind of looks at him because they're afraid, and they don't know how to follow the order, and they kind of freeze. So Chamberlain, who was mounted on his horse, hops off his horse, gets down to the fence, starts pulling the thing apart and says, "Shall I do it for you?" And these men, inspired by their leader, not wanting him to be left alone, go up and start breaking the fence down, following his courageous example. They get punished by Confederate gunfire throughout the battle. At one point, they have to spend a night in the cold of Fredericksburg with nothing but their own little jackets to keep them warm and nothing for pillows or bedding except for, and this is true, the corpses of their fallen comrades. So Colonel Chamberlain spent the night between 3 corpses trying to escape the wind, resting his head on a fallen soldier. The next day, they were so pinned down by fire, they happened to be in a natural divot in the land. If they were to do anything above a slight kneeling, they would get just mowed over by Confederate fire. And yet they stayed there, they maintained discipline, and they kept good courage in imminently difficult and horrible situations. Chamberlain would later go on to be one of the heroes of the Civil War, and we may in our time together talk about some of his qualities further. Now, what you guys are doing is not the same as warfare. I want to be clear about that, but there are some analogous threads that kind of run continuously through both. And one is the sense that you have only this moment in which to live. You have only this moment, and you are not guaranteed any other future moment. And that's true of the game that you're about to play tomorrow night against Kingman. You only have this moment. I'm sure this is something that your coaches and other people around you have instilled in you, and it's not an opportunity to let go to the wayside. That's fine. That's all true. My point to you is I don't want any sort of fear that you might be hanging on to inhibit you from going all out, all game, all season. There's a good chance that you're going to be very nervous as you go out for your first game of the season. You've been practicing a lot. You've put in a lot of hard work. I know I've been there a couple of days. I've seen you guys train and do some conditioning, do some weightlifting. I was even there to help take 40s and verticals with you guys. So I've seen it. I've seen the work that you've put in. And you're going to wonder if you have done enough work. You're going to wonder if you know all the plays. You're going to wonder if you've got the right technique down. And the truth is, the more that you think about that, the more you let that fear settle in, the more you're going to get tense and freeze up. Okay? So instead of focusing on those negatives, I would encourage you, as an act of good courage, to focus and imagine on what you can do and doing it correctly and doing it well. That's good kind of positive visioning. And that's a good practice. And I think that helps you get your mind out of the places where you're afraid and move to a place where you are more confident. And that will help you in a time of fear to be courageous. So fear is a biological response. It's always going to be there. Maybe over time you'll find yourself being less fearful. Tomorrow night you're going to have butterflies. You're going to be nervous. You're going to be fearful. I want to say be of good courage. You've got a good coaching staff to take care of you and to inspire you too. These are good fellows. You've got good parents taking care of you. So I will be watching by way of the internet, similar to how you're watching now, tomorrow night. I look forward to seeing you guys beat the heck out of Kingman, and we will see each other again soon. My understanding, Landon, is that you are the spiritual team captain. So with that, Landon, pray him up.